Okay, we're here to discuss how to maximize doing your open houses so that you can make money. I've made money in real estate. I started over in 4 different areas, and open houses were always a good way for me to get buyers and to get to work quickly. It was a way to meet people face to face, one-on-one, and to develop a relationship. Everybody has their own thing. I was not a big telephone person because you can't see them, you can't smile, you don't see their emotions, they don't see yours. You're not really developing a relationship until you're belly to belly or eye to eye. Okay, so open houses have always done well for me. I also do farming, and I do a class on that. We'll do that another time. And tomorrow I'm doing a class on systems. And once you start getting busy, systems are going to be crucial to the success of your business.
Can we
So-
sit in on that one, even though we're not in that category?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah,
gonna
because
split
the
everything up.
systems also is good because you should
Oh, I
all
can't see
aspire to have an assistant at one point. So, you know, as long as you don't have an assistant, you're doing an assistant's
Yes.
work and getting paid likewise. So your value is not being an assistant and doing all of that stuff, but it'll help you have a format for having somebody come on and help you in the future. So how many people here have done open houses? You have, okay, great. And those, you said you're having some challenges because you're not getting some leads.
Right, I mean,
Okay.
I'm spending the time, I'm meeting people, but most, like what other people have told me, most people are already working with agents already.
Okay, so why do we do open houses? What are we hoping to get out of it?
Buyers.
Hoping to get buyers, right? Anything else?
Also a seller for the actual house that we are having open.
You're
Well,
hoping to
buyers,
sell, you're
yeah,
hoping to
yeah.
sell that listing, sure.
Also, I'm hoping to get sellers, because if someone's gonna be buying, if they have buyers, a lot of times they're
There's
sellers
something
as
to
well.
sell, right, okay,
Or
great,
referrals.
right. And also not only sellers through there, hi, how are you?
How are you?
Come on a little closer.
Closer? I'm going outside.
And also, you know, there may be sellers or neighbors that visit that open house that are really checking you out, or seeing what the competition is. And that's a really great way to get sellers, is just by, you know, working in the neighborhood. Okay, so, you know, open houses are the best source of meeting total strangers that you would have never met before, through your referral system, through your contacts, whatever. So let's talk about choosing. I know we get a lot of emails, you know, looking for somebody to do an open house. Okay, and a lot of times people just grab them. You know, you might want to grab them and then let it go, you know, after you check it out. What are some of the things that you think are important in choosing what house you're going to do open?
I think if you're farming a particular area and you're focusing your business on a particular area, of course, to grab up, if there's an open house there, that's a good way
Right.
to meet.
Or if you live in Yardley, you might want to do a Yardley. If you live in Ben Salem or Northeast Philadelphia, you might want to do one of those open houses because you're familiar, you know, with that area. Okay, good. What else?
Well, what I, like you said, the first couple ones I did, I just grabbed them because I just wanted the experience of doing an open house. And I ended up, actually, the first couple ones I ended up doing were vacant homes. And I did, you know, the farming in the neighborhood, you know, door knocking on the neighbors' doors and stuff like that. But then what I realized is, I think I want to focus more on properties that are, like a first-time home buyer would be purchasing, not the higher-end homes at this point, so that I can get those potential buyer leads, so like townhouses or, you know, other smaller homes that someone else.
Okay, and what intimidates you about doing the higher priced houses?
Nothing intimidates me, I just don't think I didn't get traffic. You know.
Okay, all right.
And
interesting.
ones that, the traffic I did get, they
Mhm.
they definitely have
They have
agents.
another agent, okay. How have you been picking which open houses you do? You just grabbing them?
No, I did in the beginning,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to do like what you said, I'm trying to do where I live, where I know, or Newtown area that I'm familiar with. The last couple I've done, I did for Jim Downs down in, Upper Moreland, so I'm not familiar with that area, so. I mean, I got traffic and I got people in, but most of them had other agents that they did, some of them were neighbors that came in. So I did that same house twice.
Mhm.
How many times should you do, or is there no limit to that?
Well, I would do the same house over again if you have great traffic. But if you don't,
I mean,
don't.
it's 3 or 4 people, I mean, I don't know if that's considered great, but.
It's not great,
Yeah.
you know. Look, if you have 3 or 4 people through and you get 1 or 2 people to work with, that's a great open house.
Absolutely,
Because you can have
absolutely.
20 people in and still only have 2 people who are viable or wanting to, so, you know, but if you have your choice, I would still try to stay where you're familiar, so you can relate to them, you know, and, you know, if you're gonna have a relationship, it's hard for me in Montgomery County, even though I grew up there. You know, I've been away for so long, I can't talk about, you know, the church, the restaurant, the, you know, yeah, the schools, you know,
Exactly.
as I could somewhere else, okay? What about overpriced houses? Would you do an overpriced house, do you think?
I'd do it right now, I'll do anything.
You would do Okay, okay. Anybody else thinking about it?
I think I have done an overpriced house.
Okay.
And
That's
it's got-
what I've done.
Okay, so how can you make that a positive?
Yeah.
I don't know. How can we?
Well, you
As long as you have foot traffic through there, it's still a positive experience, so to speak, then.
Yeah, I find that if the house is maybe, well, I try and do it around the area. So, I know Washington Crossing, I've worked on it for 23 years, not in Mayfield, Salisbury.
Okay,
So
so
I like to
overpriced.
do those, you know, it's overpriced, I really don't care about that, because my goal is, and I hate to say this, not necessarily to sell that house. My goal is to get buyers, that's what my goal is.
Yeah.
Okay,
If
that's
anybody is
ultimately
honest
my
with their
goal.
sellers, they're going to say, hello, they're going to say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Sellers, there's no guarantee, and actually the likelihood of selling your house through an open house is slight. It really helps me more than it helps you because it's a source of leads for me, but you never know. And in our office, we may be having 20, 25 open houses on a Sunday, and someone else may be meeting somebody who's going to be right for you. So it all kind of plays in together so that everybody can kind of switch off and help each other. So the other thing about, you know, if you're well prepared and you know that the house is overpriced and you come with other listings or information about other homes that are similar, then you have something to lead them on with, to get back to them with, and say, hey, you know, is this the right price range for you? Because first of all, most people walk into houses that they can't afford. It's human nature. We all want something we can't necessarily have, okay? So if you're prepared, and I've talked about that a little further, if you're prepared with other houses that are 10% less,
Right,
then you can say, have you considered this neighborhood?
yeah.
You know, or bring the other houses, if there's more houses in that neighborhood for sale, bring another one, because you already know they were attracted to the neighborhood. So you should come with information on all the houses that are for sale in that neighborhood, and if there's one that's a little bit less, then great. The other thing is, you know, getting back to doing higher price listings, you know, I was intimidated too, doing the higher priced properties. However, they tend to be so much easier because the people have money. They may not have as many credit issues. They may have the cash. They may have the income. So getting through a mortgage process might actually be easier, you know, and the only way to break into it is to do it, okay? So if you combine it with where you're living and it's a higher priced house in that area, you know, like you said, you would do it anyway. Is there another way you would choose an open house? Which one you would do?
Well, I've done one so far,
Okay.
and I had 12 couples come through.
Excellent.
4 of them were not represented. So I followed up with them, I set them up on campaigns, but I never heard anything back from them.
Yeah.
Like I called, and then I called them the day after, and then I called them at the end of the week. So 2 voicemails and no response. But, you know, we're able to see if they viewed our whatever through Edge, and they do. I'm doing the same open, this is my second open, I'm doing the same house again.
Okay, so what do you think you need to do maybe differently? You're gonna learn it. Is there something you would do different to maybe create a better relationship with those people?
My approach, I'm gonna approach differently. It was my first one, I was nervous.
And you had to go
I
through my
think
class, so.
So it was nerve wracking, like the first 3 people that came through. After that, like, butterfly sort of sat and I was alright. I'm just hoping to get the traffic that, now we're not there, I mean, it'd be great if we get somebody who wants to buy the house unrepresented, but we're there to get buyers, not.
Right, and, you know, if you have something of value to offer them, then they will call you back.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's important for us to determine in the short time that they're there, if it's possible, what they need.
Right.
You know, what was great about the house, what they hated about the house, what they would prefer in another house. The other thing about choosing a property is, what's it look like? You know, does it have nice curb appeal? Would you wanna go to that open house? You know, if there was a sign in front of it, or would you just keep driving by? So, like I said, sometimes you have to grab the open house and then go drive by it. And is the house next door not so attractive? I'm really watching my words with the camera on. Not so attractive, you know, that might be an objection, then somebody, you know, then let it go and get another one. You know, there's always lots of open house opportunities in the office if you don't have your own listings. Okay, there's lots of preparation. Doing an open house is not committing yourself from 1 to 4 on a Sunday. There's a lot more to it than that. And if you think how much time you spend on cold calls and getting so little back, and how much time on door knocking, the amount of time in preparation for this might seem like a lot, but when you compare it to other things that you're doing to lead generate, in my opinion, it's really not a lot, and you're learning a lot as well. I'm gonna give you these notes when I'm done, but I want you to pay attention more and have the discussion, so, all right, so now you know you have the open house. Now, are most of you doing other people's listings at this
Yes.
point?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so, you wanna find out from the listing agent, what are they doing to get this word out? Are they gonna advertise it, or do you advertise it? Now, you may choose to spend the money to advertise it yourself, because if you do, and you have a copy of that ad in the newspaper, now you have something to use in your listing presentation. This is how I advertise. And spend the extra $5 for a yellow background, spend the extra $5 for a red border, because when I go on my listing appointment, I say, look, which one do you notice? Mine or theirs? It's mine. For $5, you know, it's worth it. If the other agent does it, they might do a banner ad or whatever, you can still do the in-column ad, okay? Ask the other agent if they're gonna be notifying the office. Ask the other agent if they're gonna be notifying other agents, if they're doing a flyer. You know, you don't necessarily wanna contact other agents, obviously, they wanna do that. But, so, you're gonna advertise it if they're not, okay? So where would we advertise it?
The advertisement, you said $5 for a yellow background or the red, but basically what does it cost? Because I've never done that.
My ads with a color picture of the house, I do not use a picture of me, which I also point out in my listing presentations. I'm not selling me, I'm selling your house. It's about $87.
And the
Okay.
inquire, I'm sorry, what?
Not in the Bucks County Courier.
Carrier.
Yeah,
Okay.
I never use the Inquirer, it's too expensive. If you're in the Northeast, use the Northeast Times.
Okay.
You
To
know,
but-
local papers.
You know,
Local
this,
papers.
this you would, I mean, you would spend that money for an open house that you're doing for somebody else's listing.
yes, but you're also, yes, if you want to build what you want in your listing presentation. So you're always thinking, what am I doing and how can it affect other areas of my business? So one day you're going to have somebody call you up and say, you know, I'm thinking of selling my house, or you're gonna get a referral and you're gonna have to put together a listing presentation. Don't you wanna show them what you've been doing for other homes? They don't have to know it wasn't your listing, but you worked it, okay? You can create your own flyer for that listing. You can advertise it on Craigslist. You can advertise it on Facebook. Who just did, somebody just did one on mine. I think it was Tim Martin, is doing an open house for me Sunday. And he did a beautiful thing. I have to learn from him how he did
The
it.
postcard?
Yeah, he did a beautiful postcard. Was that on Facebook, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
She posted
and
it.
he should do a class on that. So, you know, that's how I keep learning, you know, from you guys too. So you want to get the word out there. So how else and who else are you going to tell about the open house?
I always door knock the day before and
Okay,
let
great.
neighbors know that I'm having an house, so should at least stop by and take
Mhm.
a look and see what other homes in their area look like.
Yeah,
I
that's
usually
great.
call them.
put it on my
if you have their number.
my Facebook page, my business Facebook page.
Okay, let's go back to door knocking. I wanna suggest one more thing. Wherever you're going to put a sign at the corners, knock on those doors too. And ask them if it's okay if you can put your sign there. No one does that.
Yeah.
You're always looking for ways to stand out and to set yourself apart. People appreciate that consideration because nobody asked them. Did you do it, you said?
Yeah, I knocked on 2 doors at the corners
Mhm.
for the directionals. One person answered and he said, "Oh, that's fine." So I talked to him for a second and gave him my card and said, "I'll be up the street." And I door knocked, but it was weird, like 2 out of 12 homes answered.
Okay.
It's a little
What, did you have,
Yeah.
did you have a flyer with you?
The
Or a postcard or something about the open house?
not to leaving the doors.
Okay, so if you're gonna be knocking anyway,
Just don't
Yeah.
let it
have
be
something
lost.
to leave. And
Okay.
if you're up at the front door, just roll it up and stick it,
Just not
by the
in
handle.
mailbox.
Okay, so at least, it's not just wasting time.
Right.
Okay, or leave your business card, or at least your contact information on that flyer.
Okay.
Okay, and invite them, but, if it's the same day, people are at church, they're out to breakfast, they could be anywhere.
So like the open house flyer that we make for, just leave one of them, go around with them.
Sure.
put them in the-
Yeah, that's what I
okay.
use.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've done-
Would you do, door knocking if it's like 3 weeks in a row that, you're doing an open house, the same open house?
Well, if you've already knocked those doors,
Yes. Would you?
maybe not,
Okay.
or knock on 10 different doors. Wykeard always did 5 and 5 on either side and 10 across the street. So go reach out a little further then, if you want.
I also put balloons, I know it's a wicked thing, but I put balloons on my signs.
On your signs, yeah, a lot of people do that, and we have our own helium machine here and balloons, so, you can take advantage
Do
of
you?
that. Mhm.
Because I asked, when I first joined here last year, I
Don't we?
asked someone where
Yeah.
they
Yes,
Still
we
have
do.
it?
I used it last week.
Where is it?
Did you?
It's in the closet,
Where?
Yeah, tanks in the
you know.
closet, I know where the balloons are.
Okay, Esther will show you after
I
this
was
I
sure.
where
asked
it is.
someone last year, and they were
Okay.
like, oh no, we don't
I
have
was
that down
showed by
like that."
Helen because I was doing her open house
Mhm.
and
Good.
she showed me where to get, she has a stack of, balloons in her office and she said, go take them.
'Cause I just
and-
buy mine.
Okay, great. And of course, you make sure that the other agent's gonna notify the front desk, so it's on the list. And a lot of people take that list of open houses and post that on your Facebook page too. There's things, to do, also during the week, if the other agent doesn't do it. This is really for both you and people who have their own listings. But, I put in an open house rider like on Wednesday before the open house, so people are driving by, they know that it's there. I would suggest that you preview the house before you get there, because you're gonna get there and, it could be quite messy. Never discuss the house with the seller. If you have any comments or suggestions on how the house could appear better for the open house, take it back to the listing agent. They have the relationship, okay? I just added something on here, something to bring some paper towels and Windex. Because, a lot of times I end up doing that when I get to the open house.
I have my own open house little box.
Your
Yeah, I
little
do too.
box, okay, all right, that's great.
Torch, always have a torch in there, because you never know if you go down to the basement and there's no lights down there. And the
Yeah,
person wants to
flashlight
see if
is
it's a
fine.
man, he's gonna wanna see the basement and see all the equipment and the mechanical stuff, so I always have a torch that they can take down. Windex, paper towels, the scissors, hammer in case the sign, you can't get the sign in. Just kind
Well,
of
that's good, that's good. Now, that's the stuff you need all the time anyway, so.
I just
so
know
you'll
that when I
have
was
it.
at Wycott, the little Wycott thing that they tell you to do.
We have 2 mortgage lenders in our company. Either
Which is
of
okay.
them would
Yep.
be very happy to do a flyer
Yep.
on how you can afford the house and the
And that's
various
great.
mortgages that you can give out. And they'll put your name on it,
Yeah.
okay, with them. So most of the listing agents already have some kind of brochure at the house. But I would say take the initiative, do a flyer yourself, print out the MLS sheet, and have your own materials there, that they could take. When you're looking at the property, and if the seller is there, you might just ask them, what do you love about the house? Or what do you love about the neighborhood? And then that'll help you have the conversation or discussion and develop the relationship to the people who are coming in, okay?
I always ask them to rate it from a 1 to 10. Maybe that's the wrong
The
thing to do.
seller?
No, the.
Okay, I'm talking about the conversation with the seller.
Seller.
When you go to preview the house, if the seller's there, ask the seller what they like about the house, what's their favorite feature.
Okay, bring the points on.
Right, or what they like about the location or the neighborhood or
Okay.
something like that. You know, they might volunteer, you know, that there's lots of kids on the street, you know, so if it's an older couple walking in, you might not wanna say that. But if there's a younger couple that have their kids in tow, you might wanna say, oh, there's lots of kids, you know, on the street, for your friends. When you walk around the house, you wanna make sure, all the things when you list a house, you know, that all the light bulbs are working, you know, you might suggest to the seller, you know, if you could have all the lights on for me, that would be really helpful before I get here, have all the drapes open, you know, have it light. You know, if the toilet seats are up when you get there, you're gonna put them down. You know, you're looking for trash and toys and things that could be neatened up, and again, you're not going to talk to them about it, you're gonna bring that back to the seller. You know, this time of year, if it needs mulch, you know, a lot of houses need mulch, a lot of houses need their windows cleaned now, you know, the spring is coming, so those are things that you can help the listing agent, because we don't necessarily visit our houses all the time, okay? And I'll just make it easy for you. If there's pets, okay, the listing agent should have that conversation, you know, that the pets should be removed from the property during the open house. And, you know, I always say, we don't want to upset your darlings, you know. Yeah, you know, instead of, we don't want to upset ourselves or the people walking through, is just, you know, why upset them with strangers coming into the house? Of course, if it's a cat, they would care less, but it's just better because people do have allergies. And when people come, you might, if there are cats and dogs in the house, you might ask them at the door, are you allergic? Okay, just as a courtesy. I never mentioned that before, but I guess I'm always coming up with something. If the pets are there, certainly ask them to be crated. Okay. Of course, you know, the seller should not be at the open house. You know, so, you know, we want to have an environment where the people coming through can speak freely, and they won't if the seller is there. We want to make sure that there's no valuables out. And this is standard stuff when you list a house, but sometimes they need a reminder. You know, when a house is on the market for 3 or 4 months, sellers get to be a little relaxed in what's going on. So you want to make sure that their valuables are put away, that there's no medicine in the medicine cabinets, you know, put them in the drawer, that there's no guns anywhere, nothing, no valuables that could be easily tipped or knocked over if a kid is in the house. That might break. Okay, so you're going to preview it. Now, you want to make sure that the open house is listed in Trend, that it's listed in all the websites, your own, the office, Zillow, everybody else, openhouse.com. And okay, can you think of anything else that you want to do prior to?
The trend thing, I'm sorry, the trend, but doesn't the listing agent have to put that in the open?
Yeah, so you can just
Because
double check
can't
to
do it
make sure that they
yourself.
did it, okay? Because a lot of the websites pick it up automatically,
Right.
so you want to make sure that it's in there.
What about the information is correct? I've had that a couple times too, where, you know, there was, you know, forced air or central air and they had no AC like in that listing. Like I check the remarks and the comments too when I pre-list or preview. to make
Preview
sure
the
everything's
house,
Right.
yeah. Also, when you preview the house, it's a good opportunity to look at the seller's disclosure.
Yep.
You know, because there's certain questions that come up time and time again. You can look it up, or you can get back to them if it's something you don't know. But, you know, the age of the roof, you know, it's something, you know, what schools, what elementary school, you know, there's certain things that you might want to know off the top of your head, and that would be in the seller's
What I
disclosure.
try and do is, before the open house, I always go and print out community information, schools that are in the area, because sometimes you have people coming to the open house that are not familiar with the area. And the way I find that is when they come in, I'll say to them, so, you know, where do you come from today? And they'll tell me, you know, Horsham, or, you know, if they're coming from Horsham and then Upper Makefield, obviously they're not familiar, so I'll have that information then. I'll say, oh, well, you know what, I've actually got some information for you about the community. And I usually have, you know, the health clubs in the area, the fitness clubs, the schools, the shops, if there's theatres.
And where do you gather that information from?
Well, some of that you can get from Trend,
Mhm.
and then a lot of it, I just go to the local townships, and they have it on local township websites.
Mhm. Okay,
So,
that's great. That's a good idea.
because it's different if it's someone like from Newtown coming to Yardley, but if it's someone
Mhm.
from, say, Montgomery County coming to Upper Makefield or something,
Mhm.
then they're not gonna be familiar, like I had someone from
Right.
Chicago the one day, in a house up in Makefield, and obviously they didn't know anything about the
Yeah,
area.
because you're not just selling the house necessarily, you're selling the community.
Yeah.
And like most of you know that I do a lot in Flowers Mill and other 55-plus communities, and, they'll have questions about the rules and regulations. So if you're gonna do that for somebody, where there's a homeowners association, they all vary greatly, and if the roof is covered, do they mow, is the trash collection included, so that you can speak knowledgeably towards that. And certainly you wanna know what the monthly fee is, you wanna know what the taxes are, that always comes up. And if there's a monthly fee, you may wanna know if there's a one-time fee too.
Right.
But that usually doesn't come up till you get a little more serious.
Because a lot of agents don't do that. I mean, I was at open houses before I was a realtor, and I would, sometimes my ex would ask about the roof, and the realtors would say, well, this is not my listing, so, but I can find that out for you. And now I just look at that and I go, that was such a cop-out.
Mhm.
Sorry to say it that way.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna know everything.
Exactly,
It's
not
okay to
everything.
get back.
But
And
there's some
and if
stuff
you
that,
leave something to get back to them for, that's a
That's
reason
why
for
there
them
we
to
go,
return
going
your
in
calls.
everything.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. So, first thing to bring to open houses are the signs. So, as soon as you can afford it, get your own signs with your names on it, because it won't take long before people will say, oh, I saw your sign. It's funny, even if they didn't, they think they did. You wanna bring your name badge, and you wanna bring business cards, these are probably standard. You wanna bring your cell phone and a cord to charge your cell phone. I can't tell you how many times my cell phone went dead. And if you have a iPad, or a laptop, bring that. Have it on somewhere where it's focusing on maybe the township website or the picture of the house, the MLS, whatever. You want a sign-in sheet, and I am going to give you a copy of my sign-in sheet, and you can just copy it. But my sign-in sheets always ask if they're working with a realtor, and if they are, who is the realtor? I know when I have people do my open houses, I ask to know that, so I can contact that realtor, let them know their person was wandering around, and to get some feedback, or give them an opportunity to call them and have. My relationship with realtors in the area is precious to me, because one day, you're gonna have multiple offers. And if you already have a relationship with that realtor, you may think it shouldn't matter, it just does, it's human nature. Okay, so you want to be building not only your relationship with clients and your teammates here in the office, but with the real estate community and the people around. It takes time. Go to brokers' open houses, meet people. When you go to brokers' open houses, invite them to the open house you're having that weekend. Hey, do you know anybody who might, send them over, I'll honor your card, whatever. And then I ask them how they found out about the open house. Newspaper ads, signs, if there was a realtor, a friend, or the internet. And if they check off the internet, I ask them what site they used, okay? And then I say, did you know that Keller Williams has their own site? It's so easy. Would you like to be able to identify information on any house you drive up in front of? And that would be cool. Well, is that your cell phone number you gave me? Oh, no, you just gave me your email address. Can I have your cell phone number? I'm gonna go in right now and sign you up and share the KW app with them, right then and there. You don't like that idea?
No, I'm sorry. No,
Okay, so you'll all be getting a copy of that. You need to bring a consumer notice, okay? Because if you start having any kind of substantive conversation with them, money, whatever, especially money, you do ask them to, please, this is not a contract, it's just a disclosure. You need to know that unless you hire me, I am working on behalf of the seller. I can work for you for this and other houses as well, but get that out of the way. Sorry. You're gonna have the lender's sheets there. You might wanna have some of their business cards too, as well. If you have a personal brochure or anything about yourself, you might wanna have that there as well. Part of your listing presentation should be a resume anyway. And, or if you don't have a lot to say about yourself, say a lot about the company. You have lots of good things to say about this company. How we're the #1 for 4.5 years in the county, how many people we have, how many transactions we do, what our volume is, have some information that you, even though you may not be successful as yet, that you're with the best company in town. If you have any, I have, right now I'm doing baseball calendars, sometimes football calendars, sometimes regular calendars, sometimes notepads, sometimes pens. You know, I always have something with my name on it that I have them take with them. So I'll have lots of pens on the sign-in, and then they can just, you know, "Oh, take mine, take it with you, so you never forget me."
Yeah.
You don't want to forget me, do you? You know, using humor and being lighthearted and not so serious, you know, goes a very long way with most people. The seller's disclosure should be there. You know, if the seller, the listing agent didn't do it, be sure to bring a copy with you. If you have a buyer presentation, Keller Williams also has a book on buying your first home. You might want to grab that, I think it's $10, and have that there. If they want a copy or you think they're really good, you can always say, "Let me get a copy to you." What's your address again? You're always going back to the sign-in sheet and make sure they give you the right information. A lot of times they don't, but give them an opportunity. I'm having trouble reading that. And then they'll say, "Well, let me give you this other email address," and then they give you the right one, you know, so. I have a book, list of other open houses, and getting to what you were saying, particularly if the house is vacant, bring a chair. All right, toilet paper, paper towels, Windex, candles,
Yeah,
a
I learned that
flashlight,
from Tracy, that's why
booties.
I did those empty houses, especially in the wintertime too, I brought in,
Sometimes you have to take a shovel.
well, that, and my son.
In the winter.
And, yeah, I brought a little mat to people with like their feet off and.
Yeah, if it's raining, just grab one of your mats from your house and just bring it over, just to respect, you know, that other house. About the sign-in sheets, let me go back. Sometimes people don't want to sign a sign-in sheet. Did you have that?
I did have that, and I told them that, you know, the sellers had asked, just so they knew, if everybody could sign in. And nobody argued with it. "Oh, sure, of
Okay.
course, we'll sign in." And then I said, "Well, sign in and, you know, make yourself at home. Any questions, please let me know." And I sort of shadow them a little bit, not be up their butts, but just keep an eye on them.
Yeah, usually if you put it on the seller, you can say, "If this was your home, wouldn't you want to know who's coming through?" So if you don't mind, you know, if they're hard, fast, and sometimes I've had that where they say, "No, you know, I'm just a neighbor, or I'm just gonna be in and out, I'm looking for my daughter," or whatever. I say, "Well, you know, I have to respect the wishes of my seller and ask you to leave." Ask them to leave, and they'll go out in a huff. I don't care. We're guardians of that property while we're there. And, you know, they may sign in and give a wrong name, wrong number, whatever, we have no control of that. But we can at least insist that they do sign in.
So the sign-in, you should have them do as they come in?
Yes, I do, yeah. Usually I have it in the kitchen. I'm not on top of their heels every time. So I'll greet them at the door. "Why don't you go through the living room, dining room, I'll meet you in the kitchen." And then when they're in the kitchen, I have my brochures there, I have other things there, and then I have them sign in. Okay. Again, my way's not the only way. It's just my way, you know, so you do what's comfortable for you, okay? All right, let me see if I missed anything. Oh, most important. So, it's helpful when you're walking through or previewing the property to anticipate what the objections are going to be to that property. So, if a house has a one-car garage, that could be an objection. Maybe somebody wants a two-car. If the house is 1.5 baths, maybe somebody wants 2.5 baths. If there's no basement, they might want a basement. So if you go prepared with other homes in a similar price range, maybe even a little bit more, because you might have to spend a little bit more to get some of those things. Bring with you a half a dozen sheets of other listings that you can bounce them onto. And again, "Oh, I'm sorry," they'll say, "Can I have that? Gee, I wish I could, it's my only copy, and I know I'm gonna have another 15 people through." You know, I'm always trying to be light. But I'll sure to get it to you. I'll scan it and I'll send it to you tonight. You know, let me check your email address and make sure, you know, if I have it. And if they don't have a printer, some of my older people don't, you know, I'll drop it off if you're close, or I'll, you know, or if they have a house to sell, you say, "Can I drop it off at your house?" Meanwhile, why don't you show me your house? I'd love to see your house. Seeing other people's house really is a very good indication of what kind of home they're going to be looking for. You know. Okay, so also in terms of price, you said before that they may not be able to afford that house. So you always wanna have alternative homes that are less money. Okay, all right. If you're in Bristol, doing a Levittown house in Bristol, and people walking in off the street, they may not realize that they crossed over into Bristol Township. And they may say, you know, we really would prefer, you know, the Chamonix or Pennsbury schools. Have one, you know, even if it's a lot less house, have something, you know, that would overcome that objection, that you have reason to start a conversation, you know, and develop, to develop a relationship. There's been questions that came up, do you bring comps in the neighborhood? Okay. It depends if the house is priced right or not. You don't want to do anything that would negatively reflect on this listing or, you know, or insult the seller. So you might always have other listings that are in the neighborhood, okay? Or if you're in a 55+ neighborhood, you might want to have other 55+ neighborhoods. You know, if you're in a townhouse, you might pick, you know, another townhouse community, you know, that's comparable. Okay. All right, so people are coming in. Hello, I'm Lee Rubin. How do you start the conversation? How do you start the relationship? What kind of questions can you ask that'll get them talking? Go ahead.
How did you find this house today?
Great.
Which is on your sign sheet already, but.
Well, at that point, they haven't signed in yet.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
okay. So, I was just going home from church and I saw your sign and, you know, I thought I'd stop in.
Well, perfect, and I signed it exactly what it was supposed to be. Are you looking to buy property and that's why you're actively out right now?
Okay. Or are you looking to buy in the next 3 months? You might want to be a little bit more specific, or will it be, you know, after that? And you can, so then you can kind of judge if you have 5 people coming in, who you're going to spend more time with, because sometimes you don't know how to juggle it when there's a lot of people through. But that's great. Dawn, what would you say? What was a question you might ask somebody?
Kind of started the same vein, you know, what brought you here today, type of thing.
All right, we already know that, so give me
Yeah.
another one.
I just zoned out. I do ask if they're working with somebody already, just so I know it once, how much time am I gonna spend getting to know that person if they're truly working with somebody else. I kinda just invite them to look around the house and get back in touch with me, you know, if they have any questions and if there's anything else that I can answer for them.
Okay.
Well, I've only done one open house,
Okay.
and I had 5 people come in, and, you know, just start off a general conversation, hi, how are you? And then I took them around and showed them the whole house, you know, and
Okay.
that.
But did you engage them in a conversation?
Yes, I did, we talked,
Okay,
what type of a house are you looking for? How
Okay.
many bathrooms, how many
good,
bedrooms?
okay.
Do you need a yard? Do you need a shed? Do you need a garage? You know, we talked about all of these things, and I guess the mistake I made was that I had them sign in the sign-in sheet after we finished the whole inspection, you know, of the inside of the house and the backyard and all that.
Why didn't that work?
It worked.
Oh, okay,
It
well, that's
worked.
fine,
It worked
That's
very
fine.
well.
that's
In
fine.
fact, I had 5 people come in, one was working with an agent from our office, and the other 4 were not. And 3 of them, you know, stated they would work with me to find a house. In fact, out of the 4, 3 are still in contact with me. I mean, they're looking at houses that I'm sending them through Trend and through EH.
There is one, possible advantage to that, and that is sometimes when you ask somebody right up front, are you working with an agent? They'll just say, they'll say yes, you know. Even though they may have seen one house with this agent, or maybe they just called somebody, or maybe they met somebody at another open house. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean they're under contract with them, or that they even like them, you know? So, you know, towards the end, if you're establishing a rapport and have a conversation going, then they might say, no, not really, you know, so, you know, again, there's all
Yeah.
different ways to approach it.
I had one of those people, they said the same thing, that they had seen 2 or 3 houses with another agent, but they had not signed a contract. And after we finished everything, they said they'd rather work with me, give me your card.
Great.
And I did, and,
Great.
you know, and,
Excellent.
And we're still in touch, they're still
Good.
looking.
Bill, what would you?
I generally ask, after all the other stuff, is
Mhm.
is if they're from the neighborhood, and if there's a particular reason why they want this particular neighborhood, if they're not from the neighborhood,
Mhm.
you know.
And you can ask them, where do you live now?
Well, that's it, exactly.
You know, where do you work? Is this closer to work for you? You know, is this closer to family? Is this, you know, where are you coming from? And it'll often tell you if they're scaling down
Mhm.
or if they're moving up, too.
Exactly.
Okay. Can you think of something to ask them that would engage them in the conversation?
Just ask them how their day's going.
You could do that. You could do that.
Something a good one to start with.
And if they say great,
How about this one?
you would say,
You say what kind of house you're looking for, let's make it day better.
even better. Okay, that's great. And if it's rainy and the kids are crying and all that, you can say the
Go
same
shine
thing.
in.
Yeah.
Let's make it better. Maybe this is the house. This will be the last open house you'll ever have to go to.
Send the kids to the basement.
Okay. What kind of question would you ask?
I think everything's been covered. I like to ask them if they're familiar with the area. You know, if they're not, and if it's an area that I know, I'll give them facts of the area. I'll give them, like, for instance, I took my buyers out on Sunday, and it was in Warminster, and I said, well, this is about 30 minutes from the city and 30 from Doylestown. You're right in the middle here. You know, I find the open houses, they don't really want to be bothered with. They're there to get in and get out. Does anybody else notice that?
Yeah, I was
Sometimes.
thinking about that, I haven't engaged that much conversation with anyone.
Yeah,
Next thing you know,
look,
they're
if
gone.
they're not responsive, you're not gonna,
Yeah.
you know, do something that they're not willing to do.
Right.
But, you know, oftentimes if you ask them questions that help them. So, are you pre-qualified? Have you talked to a lender yet? You know, will you need a mortgage or you wanna pay cash? You know, usually they're gonna say, I need a mortgage. Okay. Oh, have you spoke to someone? No. Wow, I'm so glad you came here because we have two great lenders right in our office. And then I'd let them walk around, but before they go out the door, I'd say, can I set you up? Can I have somebody call you so we can get this process? Because if you find the house of your dreams, you're not gonna be ready to do anything without it, and somebody else might take it away from you. Again, you know, there's a lot of psychology involved in this, you know?
There is.
When people think they're gonna lose something, they're willing to give you something, okay? So, and we have the cards there, and we have the flyers there, you know, from our mortgage people. So I think it's really important to find out if they even talked to a lender yet.
I usually engage them as they're filling out the sign-in sheet, if there's a couple,
Mhm.
usually the wife fills it out. And it's a conversation between the three of us as she's filling it out. And I found that sometimes as you do that, they fill more of it out.
Mhm.
As they're talking, they don't realize the,
They're following
information that
directions.
they're giving.
To be honest, I suppose I just do it a different way. When they come in, a lot of times you can get a sense how they feel about everything, and, I'll give them the information of the house, and I'll say, and let's go and have a look at the house, I'll show you the house if you don't mind. And then when we come back, you can just do the sign-out sheet for me, give me all your information, that'd be wonderful, thank you so much. And by that time, I've formed a relationship with them,
Mhm.
and they're willing to give me a lot of information at that point.
Mhm.
And I find sometimes when I go through them with the house, I don't do the basement with them, or sometimes if there's a loft, but I'll do like the main area with them, and during that time, I try and do like an interview. We're going to the master suite, and, I'll say to them, so, what do you think about this?
Mhm.
I love this cathedral ceiling in here. How do you feel about that? Do you think that there's enough closet space, and,
Mhm. And that's where you can bring up some of the objections and
Exactly.
find out. The basement here isn't finished, and you see they have kids. Is that something
That's
you
it.
would do yourself or hire out?
Mhm.
Have them move into the house already,
Mm.
you
Or the
know?
master suite
Or
like that.
do I need to
Yeah.
find you a house with 2.5 baths rather than one? Or a house, what's more important to you, a garage or a basement? Because sometimes you have to choose if it doesn't have one or the other. And the other thing I don't want to forget is, do you need to sell a house in order to buy?
Mhm.
That's a big question, because who gets your most attention? Them,
Yes.
them,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I have to go to work. Can I grab
Oh, yeah,
a sheet from you?
absolutely.
Apologize. Thank you.
Yeah, so, and if they need to sell something, then how long have you been looking for a home? Are you just starting, or has it been 2 years? If it's been 2 years, you might wanna go with somebody who's a little bit more motivated. So you're always picking and choosing who you wanna spend your time with and who you wanna make sure you get back to. And again, if you cannot satisfy their needs in this house, say, that's great because I know I have something that I can send you. A reason to get back to them, or a reason for them to get back to you. So that, you know, when you call them later, that they do return your calls, hopefully. I mean, sometimes they just don't, but, you know, if you give them a reason to, you have a better shot at it. And when you have your laptop there, you can actually go in, if there's nobody else around, and do a search for them. Make sure you have the consumer notice signed first. But, you know, do a search and say, you know, let me put you in, I'm gonna specialize the search right for you, and go in and sign them up as a contact, and do a search and save it, and say, you know, every day I'll be looking for a property for
But
you.
if you're gonna need to know what their Wi-Fi password.
That's what I've run into too.
Well,
is
I've got a
phone
hotspot.
calls and that.
My phone, you can use your cell phone as a hotspot. Every iPhone has a hotspot now.
I don't have an iPhone. I have
Well,
Android.
Sorry.
I
The
have an
iPhone-
Android, and you can have it on an
Same
Android
thing.
as well.
I'm sure you
get a
can.
hotspot?
Yeah.
Go into your settings.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, yeah. I never
But you
knew
know
on
what,
the
that's a
iPhone.
good thing to find out ahead of time, if they have Wi-Fi in the house and
Yeah.
they have a code.
But they don't wanna give, sometimes they don't wanna give you
Yeah,
the
they
code,
might
because
not.
I
You
wouldn't
can
wanna give
ask.
someone else my code, because then they could
I
break
don't even
into
know
my
what the hell
system, and I would
yeah.
not want that at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Okay.
Anyone who has my password can break into my networking system, and I would not, I'm sorry, I'm an
Okay.
IT person, so I'm very funny with that.
No, I would agree.
I like
wouldn't
it
do
really, like, you know, because my
Make
daughter's
sure you
always
can get
asking
into the
me.
internet if
Yeah.
you're bringing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you're bringing.
Yeah.
I'm sure you
Okay.
should have that, sweetie, because
I'll have to
most,
look.
I'm sure you have.
Now, what happens if nobody shows up?
That
Read a
does
good
happen
book.
also.
Okay, so what do you wanna have with you?
MREA.
MREA, bring a book with you. I like crossword puzzles, I use it as time to relax. How about
Music.
how about note cards? How about a list of people to call?
Yeah.
You know, how about your family? Call them up, ask, I'm at an open house, I just had a couple minutes lull, and I thought I'd give you a call and tell you about it, or see if you know somebody for it, or how the hell are you doing, you know, like, just me.
You almost made it, Lee.
I almost made it. So, bring things with you to do, okay? Bring your note cards, bring your phone, make your calls, you know, do whatever. When I get to Brokers Open, a lot of times I have all these people in my cell phone and I start text messaging them. Hey, I'm here.
Where
Know
are you?
anybody? Send them over. I do that at my Brokers Open. You know, the first half hour of my Brokers Open, I'm texting all the agents that are in my phone and say, hey, come on over. Okay, so, yeah, don't waste time there. Bring scripts with you. You know, practice your scripts. You know, call somebody, can I practice, you know, you call your sister or whatever and say, I wanna practice some scripts. You know, it's quiet time that you rarely get,
Yes.
you know? A lot of times, if there's a football game or a baseball game that day, I put it on the television. Cause a lot of guys are there cause their wives dragged them, you know? And if you see them lingering or what's the score, you know, another way to establish a relationship with them.
Yep.
You know, if there's nothing on, I try to put music on. Okay. Okay, so the open house is done, you have your list of people, now what? Follow up. So, you put them on a campaign. Oh, he puts them on a campaign, I'm sorry, I keep pointing at you. You know, you can put them on a 33 touch and whatever, but how soon are you gonna call them back?
That day,
That day?
yes.
Yeah,
At
I
least call
agree.
and say thank you
In-
for coming through.
In the next hour.
As
after
they're
it,
walking out
you
the
know,
door, I'm sending them emails.
No, I was told, as they're walking out the door, you send them the website on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
And, 4 o'clock, it's over, you go home or to the office, and by 5, you should be calling them.
That's, who's a pen? I'm always adding, you guys are just so great. So after the open house, I'm gonna add them to the KW site.
Right, immediately. I mean, no, not after the open house, after they walk out the door.
Okay, well, whenever you have time,
Right.
you know, right after.
I mean,
Imagine there's other
if you
people
don't have
that
any
do
other
that.
people, you just supposedly add them immediately.
Mhm.
And then when open house closes at 4 o'clock and you pick up the signs and whatever, by 5, you're either home or at the office.
Right.
That's when you pick up the phone and start calling them.
Exactly.
And on the sign-in sheet, that's what I did. I made all the notes regarding when I called them, the time, whether I got them or I left them a voicemail.
Actually, when I'm talking to them, after they sign in, and I'll flip the sheet over, and I'll go number 2, with kids,
Yep.
Yeah.
with in-laws, had a broken foot, so I could call them back, say how's their foot doing. I mean, anything, that triggers your memory of them, because sometimes I can't even remember one from the other, So put the notes, has a house to sell, hasn't been pre-qualified, all these things, that you can think of, that information that they gave you. So then, when you call them up, you can say, oh, your kids were so cute. Yeah.
I love how they trashed the basement when they went down there.
Well, your kids were so cute. Do you find it distracting when you look at houses to have them with you? Or, go a little deeper, with it. I'd love to take you out and show houses. They're welcome to come, but do you have somebody that might be able to, or can I get a babysitter for you, or, whatever. I mean, just talk. Okay, so you're gonna call them right away. Who else are you gonna call?
I'm gonna call
The other
So
agent.
this
Listing
is-
agent, thank you very much, okay, and you're gonna give them feedback, and again, if you use my sign-in sheet, I would give them a copy of it, with the ones who are working with another agent and who it is, so Natalie can follow up on it. You wanna try to schedule an appointment. If you can do it before they leave the house, that's great. What kind of appointments can you schedule? There's lots of them. You wanna schedule an appointment to what?
Go see more of the house?
Go see more homes, what else?
Listing appointment.
Go see their house, Why do you wanna see my house? Maybe I can give you some ideas on what you need to do to prepare it to go on the market. What else?
The buyer's intake.
Buyer's intake, come to the office, do a buyer consultation. How about meeting with a mortgage person? Okay, all right, good. Really, my expectations for an open house is really just to get 1 or 2 good leads. You can't work them all, okay, effectively. And if somebody's there and maybe they're not in the right place, if you can't help them somewhere else, let's say they're in from out of town and they have to sell their house, refer them.
Yeah.
God, that's the best, quickest money you can make, is to refer them to another agent in our system to go over and meet with them about selling their house, okay? And you can ask them at that time, well, what did you really think about that house? What else did you see after you left me? And how did it compare to my house? Did you see anything you loved? No, we're still looking. Well, what would you have liked to have found? Oh, I'm sorry. What would you have liked to have found? And then you can, dig more about, them. Everybody likes to talk about themselves. Everybody likes it when someone else is interested in them. You don't have to tell them how great you are, how long you're in the business, how long you're not in the business, none of that. How much you know about, if they linger in front of a picture of an airplane, they must have an interest in airplanes. If you know something about airplanes, start a conversation, If they're looking to see where the person graduated from, sometimes I've had people know the sellers, because they went to school with them, and you see them looking at their pictures of the family or whatever, oh, do you think you know them? Whatever. Okay, so after the open house, call them, the visitors, and get feedback, highlights, negatives, schedule an appointment to see their home, to meet with a lender, call them back immediately. You might actually even want to send them a thank you note with your business card, okay, something handwritten. And you can again handwrite them and have them with you and do it as soon as they leave the house. Now, whatever contact management system you have, put them in there, okay? I'm a big top producer proponent, but you need, certainly put them in the Edge, sign them up to get a newsletter, put them on a, 8x8 or 33 touch or whatever it is that you're going to do it. But also schedule in your calendar to call them, depending on how hot they may be. Every day, every other day, once a week if they're not gonna be moving for a month or two or whatever. But have it in your calendar to call them, because you'll forget.
Yeah.
unless you have some kind of a tickles, you know, because E-Edge does not let you schedule those things in the calendar. That's what Top Producer does. So I can put in Top Producer, call to keep in touch, and schedule it every 2 days, every week, every month, you know, however, every 2 weeks, whatever it is. So that, and I put it in as an appointment because I don't always look at my to-do list. But if it's in as an appointment, I make sure that I do it.
What, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, you know, I don't know, what is a top producer?
Top Producer is a contact management system
Mhm.
that helps you keep your business organized.
And is it topproducer.com?
Mhm.
And do you have to subscribe to
You
it?
do subscribe to it, yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, it helps you keep your listings organized. I'm doing a class tomorrow on systems, and my systems are in my Top Producer, so I know exactly what I have to do when I get a listing, what I have to do when I get a pending, what I have to do when I get a price reduction, what I do when I have an open house. You know, there's lists and systems and checklists and all that, and
So you-
it's automatically scheduled when you have Top
You'll
Producer.
be teaching that in tomorrow's class?
I'll be teaching systems, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they told me I can't be too Top Producer heavy, because not everybody has it, but, you know, it just makes it really simple. You know, and if you start doing it early on, I think it's even better, because you can put realtors in there that you've met, people you might want to recruit later. I mean, all your inspection companies, I have so many categories of inspection companies, and then your farms can go in there if you're going to be doing farming. It's a whole thing in itself, it's
So
awesome.
you have it in your computer, and does
And I
it
can
have
get
an-
in, and I can get on my phone too.
It does have an app, okay. And it keeps reminding you
Mhm.
on who to call and, or whatever to schedule?
Yeah, I have a very terrible memory, you know, so it keeps me organized. So,
One last question,
Mhm.
and approximately what does it cost? Is it a monthly subscription
I think I
or
pay $40 a month.
per month? Thank you.
And you know, if you miss one call or whatever, it costs you a whole lot more than $40 a month.
Of course, yes.
Okay, in Top Producer, they also have something called a market snapshot that I sign them up for, and that automatically emails them with other properties in their area, in their neighborhood, on a regular basis. You might also put them in trend, okay? Put them in trend. When I put somebody in trend, I identify them as their last name and whether they're a buyer or seller. Sometimes they're both. So I do a search on their neighborhood and automatically send them whenever something happens in the neighborhood they're living. I'm gonna be their expert, where they're leaving and where they're coming. And then I do a search for what they're looking for in this area. Sometimes you can group searches by price range. I group searches like people who have been through my open houses in Flowers Mill, let's say. I've got 50 people that I get in touch with. You know, they're all under a category of Flowers Mill. But you can do buyers from 100 to 2, singles, townhouses, you know, however you want to group it. So when you see something new, you can automatically just, you know, get a note out to them. Okay, so that's in trend, and we talked about that. Okay, so the goals of the open house is to, as we said, make an appointment to see more properties, to meet with the lender, to see their house. We're gonna make an appointment to make an offer, wouldn't that be nice? And to add them to your database. Now, I just added this today because someone suggested it in the last class. Some safety tips about open houses. Mhm,
I
yes.
just got an app the other day.
I saw it
Did you see
online.
it? I've got it
Mhm.
on here.
Okay,
I downloaded it on here.
yeah, what was it called?
Let me get it for you.
The other thing about open houses,
Safe Track, sorry.
Safe Trek?
Safe Track, SAFE capital TREK. And it's got this little person on it, it's blue. And then you click on it and you hold it down. And then it'll go, let me show you how.
If you don't put 911 in or something like that, it automatically tracks
Then it
where you
releases
are
when it's
and
safe.
assumes that you're in
Yeah,
distress.
and then you put your code in, if you don't enter your 4-digit PIN within 10 seconds,
Bill.
it dials 911 and it's got your location.
Yeah, so
that's pretty good.
that's pretty cool.
What was it again?
Safe
Safe
Trek, T-R-E-K.
Safe track, all right.
Sorry, didn't mean to.
That's okay. Particularly if the property is vacant or in a sketchy neighborhood or maybe isolated. okay? I would suggest you take somebody with you.
That's what, I did empty open houses, I've done them so long.
Yeah, take somebody else with you, all right? Leave the back door unlocked, just in case. I've never had a problem, but I wanna prepare, be prepared. Let someone know where you are, you know, who cares about you, you know, where you are, and what time they should expect you to be home.
I'll just talk.
Okay, some people do open houses 1 to 3. I'm kind of a bugger, I think you should do it 1 to 4. If you're gonna put all this work into it, you may as well do it to 4 o'clock, because the other people who are done at 3, you're gonna get all those people who have nowhere else to go afterwards. Okay, Wygood actually does it 1 to 5 in the past, but anyway, 1 to 4 to me is the minimum. If you have mace or a stun gun, you know, have it handy. Pardon me?
Oh, I couldn't use a stun gun on someone.
Well, then have mace, you know, or a spray bottle, or whatever, or I don't know, or, you know, or a steel boot, you know.
Listen, dress like a cowboy and have a 6-gun on your hip.
And also, when you're showing a house, and this goes at any time, never let people follow you into a dead-end room, like a garage, like a bedroom, you know, where there isn't another way out. You know, if you're in the living room, you're going in a circle or whatever. So you just stand at the door, and if they want to walk in, you know, here's this room.
Well, they always say
Notice
it's
all
good
the
though.
closet space.
Don't they say it's good sometimes also for the client to actually enter the room on their own, because then they can actually see the room properly without you being there?
Mhm.
That's what we were taught, so.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
fine. And truthfully, I don't go all over the house with them either, you know, if there's a lot of people there. Certainly
Yeah,
I
of
do.
course.
But, you know, sometimes you go down in the basement and the doorbell's ringing and you're
Exactly.
running up, you're gonna leave them down there anyway, you know.
Mhm.
You know, I don't do, basement stuff
I
all
don't
that
like
often.
basements.
But, you know, there was only one time when I felt a little bit uncomfortable, and there were 2 very tall men that came in to look at a house, you know. And I did houses in South Philly, and I've done, not that South Philly's bad, but I mean, there's other
Mhm.
areas that, you know, you just are, not feeling safe in. So do whatever you can to do that and to feel safe. Lastly, when you're hosting an open house, you are actually working on the seller's behalf. You're a seller agent. They're listed with the company, so we're all seller agents. Disclosing information regarding comps in the neighborhood, which we mentioned before, should support the list price. Otherwise, don't disclose comparables, as it does not represent the seller's interest. Okay. As soon as you begin discussing visitors' personal information or financial information, you must disclose the relationship you'll be having with them, which is dual agency. Okay, and that's when the consumer notice comes out, et cetera. Okay. Any questions? Any problems? You say you're not getting, you have a lot of people coming in that already are represented.
They're represented.
Okay, are you knocking on the doors of the neighbors?
Uh-huh,
Okay, are you notifying your sphere of influence?
uh-huh.
Okay.
So I'm getting traffic, but then, excuse me, I've got a cold all of a sudden.
That's okay.
The people that come in that are represented, that's fine, but then the ones that aren't represented, I establish a relationship with them, and then 2 of them in particular. One guy I came and did a buyer's presentation for him, and then I had the whole thing set up here in the office, and he went through it, he was very receptive, and I asked if he would sign the buyer's contract, and he said, well, let me just have somebody take a look at it. And I haven't heard from him since. He doesn't return my phone calls or my emails, he went away. And another person, I came in at this house that I did for Jim, and he was very excited about the house. Not that particular house was too much money for him to spend, but he was looking for something else. So I had set him up with, and he hadn't been pre-qualified. So I set him up with Lisa. He said, absolutely, I'd like to talk to Lisa and sit down with Lisa. And he came into the office and he spoke to her, but it turns out he doesn't have any income to support what he wants to buy. So it's just frustrating. There's 2 possible leads that came out, and nothing came out of it, so that's all.
So did they not qualify for anything, or that's
No,
not for that
apparently
house?
he's on a commission-based, job,
Oh, okay.
but
You
they
only have
have
2
money in
years.
the bank, but they don't wanna use that all for the house, so they, he needs to establish himself that way.
Mhm.
And the
Or
wife-
you can ask if there's somebody who would co-sign with them until they can go on their own.
That's true, that's true. He put that on policy.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, that's just a frustrating thing, that you get 2 possible leads and they go away. I know that's
Yeah,
just
you
a
get all
numbers game.
excited.
Yeah, exactly.
You get all excited. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's okay, he came
That
in
one-
Monday and he came in, and, you know, he took my phone calls, it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I don't know that I should be teaching this, but I'll tell you what I do as regards to the buyer and the employment contract.
Okay,
I disclose that should you decide to continue to work with me, I will be, of course, working as a buyer agent and representing your interests and doing everything I can to get you the house that you want at a good price, good terms, whatever. Let's go out once first and make sure it's a fit. I feel I can work with you and you like me, you know. And then after the first time, then I have them sign it. They're a little more receptive to doing it. People don't like to sign things. They think it's, you know, binding,
Yeah.
okay?
I was told that
So-
after the fact, no, somebody else had told me to do the other thing first.
Okay,
and
well, that's all right.
I've learned.
Live and learn.
Exactly, so,
Yeah, live
for
and
the
learn.
next
I know
opportunity.
you're gonna hate me saying this. But I know it's like, I've never had a buyer's agreement.
Well, you need to.
And I've
If
never
you're
lost a
working in the
client.
state of Pennsylvania, and you better cover your butt.
Oh, I mean, I do have a buyer's agreement when we come to put an offer in,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never had one, I mean, I have a
Prior
consumer
to that.
notice, I have a
Mhm.
consumer notice, but I've never gone and forced them to have an agreement with me to work specifically with me.
Mm-hmm.
I've just never done that. I mean,
Well,
obviously at the time of the
You may
agreement,
have never done it, but you're going to start doing it.
You know, obviously at the time of the
Say, I'm
agreement,
going
you
to
have
start doing it now. Okay, so what are you gonna start doing now?
Buyer's agreement, I just feel like it's such an imposition.
Don't you have to
You
have
have
it?
to get over it. First of
In your
all, do you
document?
value your own time and value your worth?
Yeah, but I've never.
You're giving them all this information, all your time, all your trouble, all your interest and focus, and they have nothing to bind them to you.
But what if they decide they don't wanna work with me anymore? I mean, do you really wanna work with a client who doesn't wanna work with you?
No, then you let them out.
Yeah,
So.
If it comes a time where you're really not comfortable with this, we'll rescind this. But I'm going to be spending a lot of time with you, Joe. You know, don't you think it's only fair? You know, we
I
have,
suppose I've
we
just
have,
always
if you
thought-
want me to have a fiduciary relationship and represent your best interest, I'm not asking you for a retainer like your attorney would do. I just need, the state of Pennsylvania requires me to have this form that explains exactly what our relationship is and what the expectations
Yeah,
are.
it protects you, it protects
But that's
you.
the consumer report, isn't that what
No,
I'm doing?
no,
No.
they require, an employment contract too. If you're gonna be working on their behalf, the consumer notice is just that, it's just a notice.
Mhm.
They're not employing you,
Not a
and you're not
contract.
taking them on. It's just a disclosure. But the, employment contract is your promise.
And what if
I'm
they
making
say
a
no?
promise to you, then you have to decide whether you're gonna work with them. Okay, because they're not gonna be loyal. How much time do you wanna invest in somebody who's gonna walk into an open house and not tell them that they're working with another
I
agent?
suppose I'm just being lucky then.
Maybe,
yeah, but,
yeah, it's all great until you're not,
yeah.
Well, these
you know,
sometimes-
especially when they go into new construction too.
And I've told them about
You
that,
know,
I was told
remember,
that.
you know, now that
Yeah,
you're
just
signed
like-
up, you know, you don't wanna walk into new construction without somebody on your side. You know the builder's only looking for their own interests, you know, so, you know, if you go into new construction, you know, certainly put my name down, and if they say that I have to be with you, call me up, you know, I'll be there. Or let's make an appointment so we can go.
Being the new agent, I don't know, I mean, you know, talking about signing up a buyer's agency contract. It's one thing which has worked for me, and I don't know, maybe I'm doing it wrong, maybe it's right. I just tell them, I show them one house first, which is supposed to be a freebie,
Mhm.
okay? On the second house, I ask them, please, you know, we need to sign this buyer's agency contract because my office requires it. And they need a copy of it in their files if I'm going to be going out and working with you.
But not only your office requires it, but the state.
State law.
Okay,
the
but-
state
I know it's
requires it.
required for, to do an
So,
offering.
so, you know,
I
if
just-
if you are ever sued,
Mhm.
and if you're in this business long enough, and if you do enough business, you'll be sued,
I mean,
okay?
I do have one, I just don't have one in the, like. to
But
show
when they
the
go
house.
back, and they say, when was this signed, and when did you start working with them, just change your thinking.
Okay.
If you change the way you look at things, the way things look will change. So
I'm just
change
not
the
a
way you're
contract
looking
kind
at
of-
it,
I just
that
suppose I've
this
just
is,
never been, I suppose I've just looked
Okay,
at
then
that, if they
change
hate to work with you, why do you wanna?
then change your language.
you know.
Change your thinking, change your language, because it's necessary, okay? You know, you may have gotten away, and look, you know, I've been in the business a long time, there's lots of
I'm not
things that I'm
saying it's not,
relearning.
I'm just saying that if someone hates to work with you, then what am I gonna do?
Well, no, like we said,
You'll-
you just like. if
Then
you
You'll
don't
cancel the
work with them.
contract.
If they don't, if
How do
they
you tell
hate
them,
working
you know?
with you, don't work with them. You need to find people
You can
who
say,
want to
if
work
you
with you.
find, after we go out a couple times, that, you know, this isn't a good fit, we'll cancel this contract.
Yeah, cause you can let
You
them
know,
out, if
You can let them out,
why would you wanna work with someone who doesn't wanna work with
Exactly
you,
right.
just let them out of the contract, I mean,
Right.
that's your.
Right. but my company requires this, you know, and, you know, if they're just looking and they're not serious and they don't wanna sign it, go to the next person. You know, you're gonna have a lot of
Which is what I
leads.
think this one guy was, I mean, I thought he was serious, but I was.
You never know when, what do they call them? When somebody from the state walks into your open house? What do they call them?
Oh, did they want to?
Mystery shopper kind of person, but I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about,
but,
I know, yeah.
Testers or?
Yeah, something like that, testers or whatever. So you wanna make sure, you know, we have a license to protect. I will do nothing to put that license in jeopardy, because without that license, I'm broke.
That's your income.
I'm not qualified to do anything but this. Really, I keep
Well,
wait
I've had
tables.
people even ask me like, you know, oh, so what's the school district like, and I will not go and say anything about the school district, because I
You
know
tell
you
them
can
who
get
the
into
school-
so much trouble.
Greatschools.com.
Or dot
You
org.
know, I always say them, there's this website that you can go look at the school, and I have it there, because I will not tell them anything about the school district or the, you know, church affiliations.
You can always say, you know, I
or-
don't live in this school district,
Mhm,
but there's a lot of people in this neighborhood who do,
mhm.
and I guess they think it's fine. You know, and also you know that the quality of someone's education is greatly based on their home life and the support they get from their parents.
I had someone in an open house, she's like, oh, so is that a black church across the street there? I'm not kidding you.
They said,
It
what?
was in Morrisville. She's like, is that a black church across the street there?
Oh,
I don't
building
think.
looks white to me.
No, she says to me. No, but this is what she says to me. She says, I don't think I'd really like that. Do you think you'd like that? And I said, ma'am, I said, I really have no idea what denomination that church is or who goes there. I said, but I suppose it's all where you wanna live, you know, what makes you feel comfortable. I wasn't gonna go down there.
No.
No, you weren't there.
I'm like, forget that nonsense.
Okay, so real quickly, let's go around. Give me one thing that you hadn't heard before that you learned today to take with you.
Me, I have to go back to the slew. I feel like this is the second time I've been taught you guys, so.
That's okay. Was there anything I said today that you hadn't heard before?
Just the way how you kind of go about getting their information and getting them to talk and communicate with you, like the
Mhm.
steps in which you do it from the time you walk in the door. I
Great.
did learn a lot from that.
Okay, good. How about you, Don?
I never thought to look at the other listings in the neighborhood that had that as an option, another option to
Awesome.
offer them.
I'm sorry.
Advertising. I had never heard that you as a person who's doing an open house for somebody else, that you advertise in the
Great.
Well, check with them
newspaper.
to see what they're, yeah.
In the newspaper, no, it's, you know, and under your name, but without your picture, just the picture of the house, that's
Or,
wonderful.
you know, you might wanna throw one in with your picture one time. Again, if that's something you wanna build in your listing presentation, you know, you can do it.
Right.
I mean, it's one time, you'll spend an extra $20 or whatever it is. Okay. Bill?
I guess basically just more conversation.
Okay.
I mean, pretty much what you'd gone over before, but
Mhm.
more engaging more.
Okay, building the relationship. Okay. You've learned a lot, so what one thing kind of impressed you?
When you go to recontact them, you try to remember who it was, you turn the sheet over and you already know everything,
I
cause
mean, it's
I'm hard
invaluable.
looked at, like,
It's
all the
invaluable.
people
Yeah,
came
great.
in, I mean, that's great.
Exactly.
The advertising thing in the newspaper.
Mhm.
You ever thought about doing that?
Okay, great. Yeah, sometimes the obvious things are the things we skip. But if you have a system and a checklist of all the things, so I suggest that when you take these notes home, make your checklist.
Checklist, yeah.
Okay, so like you make a commitment to an open house. Just check everything out. Well, thank you, everybody.
Some questions.
you.
Yes,
Some questions. Snacks,
no.
would you?
No.
Because,
Do you wanna clean up after the cookie crumbs all over the house? No.
yeah, but you could have.
If it's hot and you wanna have little bottles of water, okay.
Because I thought if you had snacks and you had them sit down, you could talk to them more.
They don't.
They
I'm
usually
sorry to
sit
say
down.
that.
They're in and out.
I've tried that. I've tried that at my
Outside of
place,
water, I
open house,
really wouldn't
They
do
don't sit
anything.
down.
Go ahead.
Other question, you said to send them to other listings in the area,
Mhm.
but you're sending them, you know,
Give them your business card
And that way when
and
they go,
say,
they'll
when you
have
get
time
there,
working
tell
with
them
us.
that I sent you over and you'll be protected.
okay.
Hopefully they'll do.
If they house and they wanna put in an offer, what do? You
Get in touch
lock,
with
lock
us.
it up and go to the office? Or what do
Oh,
you?
if it's not 4 o'clock yet?
No, yeah, if it's like, say 2 o'clock and, you
No,
know,
I would say, can you meet me at my office at 4:30?
but some people are, you know, so impatient,
You
they
can't
wanna
just
do it
shut the
now,
office.
and so what do?
You know, they have to respect you as well as you're respecting them. You know, you've made a commitment. This is my opinion. You know, if they're flying on a plane at 6 o'clock and they have no time to do it, listen, if you have your laptop with you, you can do it right there
On the dot loop, yeah.
on dot loop.
If you know what you're doing.
Okay.
Yes.
Some of us takes a little longer.
And they can sign it on their phone as they're driving to the airport.
The point
Consumer
is-
notice, you should give it to them as you talk to them, or
Yes,
unless
as soon as you start
Yeah, that's something that-
getting any personal information, especially financial information.
from.
I keep a
financial.
copy
Okay.
at my open house, there's a copy that's
Yeah,
laid out.
One last question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, when you do an open house, people leave all of these, you know, stuff all over their house, valuables and stuff like that, like you were talking about. Who's responsible for them? Are you?
Well, I mean, if it's just messy, look, I've gone in, I've washed windows, I've washed storm doors, I've wiped off tables. You know, hopefully the bed is made, but if it isn't, I look and make sure the toilets are flushed and the lids are down. You know, you're walking around turning the lights on anyway, right? Oftentimes. You know, it's what you're willing to do.
No, my question was, you know, it's like,
It's something
Well,
If someone
safer.
got stolen.
a guy studies there and he's got his laptop and he's got his iPad and stuff all over his desk,
Shame on
you
him
know?
for leaving it out.
And,
Yeah.
and if you have 2 or 3 people coming in looking around, you can't be with everybody.
Well, you know, if there's a laptop, you know, that's easy to pick up, I might close it and put it on the chair, tuck it under.
I've done that, I've removed.
You have removed
Well,
stuff.
the first thing I do is call the listing agent and say, please remind your client to remove all valuables, don't have them out. And then when I'm there and I'm walking the house and getting things ready, like for instance, a very expensive watch was left out, I grabbed that watch,
That's what-
put it in a safe spot during the open house, put it exactly back where it was, and then I called the listing agent afterwards to let him know that I had done that.
But my other part of my question is, if something like that goes missing during an open house, or it gets lost, or it gets stolen, who's responsible for it?
You are not.
The homeowner, I mean,
You are
they-
not?
They might, they don't know.
You're not.
No, it's not
You're
bad.
No, you are not.
It's not your fault, you're not the police.
I'll cover your butt.
Yeah. It's very rare, personally.
It's very,
You know.
no, but once in a million chance, if something does happen, who, you know, does get responsible? Because, you know, if you find an,
It's
like you said,
as far as I know, it's the homeowner's
it's,
responsibility.
I mean, it's the same if you're showing a house. You know, you could be showing a house and something could go missing and they could say, well, you know, it happened while you were showing the house between 1 and 2.
I'm guilty of taking a jelly bean now and then.
Yeah, they counted the jelly beans.
But, you know, if you see something valuable, you know, I would do what you do, I would tuck it away. And a lot of times, it's just messy, not to my standards. So, you know, if there's a smelly, a dish rag in the sink, you know, if there's a towel hanging from the oven, like everybody does, I take that off and then I either put it like in the sink where they'll find it, or I put it back after I'm done, you know. Yeah, I do a lot. I do a lot.
I've been with her with her open house, she does, she brings a little white thing, and she went all around there.
Yeah, sometimes I always keep magic erasers in the car. You know, sometimes you're not, I have to add it to the list.
Yeah.
You have this already?
No, I don't, that's okay.
Is that updated, please?
Yes, it is updated,
Yeah, I think
thank you.
I have the old one, but
Okay.
since you added stuff.
Yeah, magic
Thank you.
erasers, and again, if you have nothing to do and nobody's there and, you know, walk around the house and, you know, help them out.
You know, it's funny, sometimes when you sit at that table and you just look around, I did that once, and there was a ceiling fan, and I was like, oh my God. I just looked at the
The
dust,
dust on
it
it.
was like thick, and I'm like, you know what, I'm short, so I don't see a lot of stuff.
Exactly, yeah, right?
It's the
Yeah.
truth though,
It's
isn't it?
like,
But I was
oh.
thinking, oh my gosh, if there was a normal sized person, they'd be going, whoa, if this is how, because it's sometimes an indication of how people maintain it. That's just what the perception sometimes is, you know? Not that it necessarily is that way, but that's.
Often it is, though.
It is, you're right,
Often it is.
yeah, so.
Okay. Well, I hope you found this valuable.
No, it's good.
Cut.
I'm glad I got to see the whole thing this time.
Oh, God.